What about too much? What would that look like? So here's an example.
Wow.
So this is data taken on in a baseball context. So the larger the angle, the farther it goes until a point, and then it starts to be smaller again. Does that fit with your experience? Like if I have a really big angle, if I set it up really steeply, the ball is going to come right back down a short distance away, right? And if I handle on what this would look like to try to write a model, we want to do a scatter plot, where you graph these as your inputs and these as your outputs. And we can do this on your calculator. So this is calculator day, okay?
Turn it off.
So to do this, you're going to...
You just do it with the calculator.
So I would like for you to open up a document if you haven't already. First, you want to add lists and spreadsheets. This is where you're going to put your data in a list. Okay, so now you should have this screen. I'll make it a little bit bigger. So the angle. Okay, so let's type in A-N-G, say. Angle, it won't take angle, it's got too many characters, but just something descriptive for yourself so you don't forget what that data is. Do you need to borrow a calculator too? Distance. Okay, so we could use D, for example. You don't have to go to any extreme length, or you could go to DIST. Would anyone like me to call out the numbers so you don't have to keep looking up and back?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to be with me. Are you ready for your X's? Okay. Tell me when you're ready. Raise your hand if you're ready.
So X is the angle.
Angle. You ready for your angles? For me to call them out?
I mean, they're just 5, 5, 5. Oh, no, they're not. No, never mind.
It won't let you type angle though, Susan. You can just do A and G. You ready? Okay. 10, 15.
We start on the one.
Yeah, we're doing the first column.
No, start on the one or equals.
Okay.
Don't start on the equals. It makes everything.
Yeah. If you put in equals, it makes everything that number. So you're starting here and you're going 10, you press enter, and then the next number. Enter. Now we want to do a scatter plot. So we're going to add a page. So Control Doc to add a page. And it's going to be a graphing page. But we don't have a function. We're going to insert a scatter plot. So go to your menu. And for graph entry, we want a scatter plot. What's your X? What's your Y? And we've called it angle and distance. If you click on the variable button right here, you'll see.
This is so cool.
But when you press enter,
Nothing happens.
Yeah. Okay, nothing happens because of your window. Our data was not between -10 and 10 and 6 and 6. So you can manually set it based on your range of values, or better than that, menu, zoom, data. Zoom fit is for functions. Zoom data looks at your data and chooses.
That's awesome.
So this is the angle has been plotted on the x-axis, and the distance has been plotted on the y-axis. Right? It's set of points. So we want a model for this. What kind of model do you think would be appropriate? Linear, exponential, parabola? Yes, it screams quadratic, right? But it doesn't mean it's perfect. Like, you might see a little bit of curving out here. You might see it's not perfectly symmetric. The actual event might not be purely quadratic. There's wind going on. There's all kinds of things. There's maybe the spin of the ball. There are different factors at play. But we just want a model to best represent this. So we want a quadratic which tries to represent this, but it's not going to go through every point perfectly. So a method to do this would be by hand. We could visualize where we want the quadratic. We could approximate where we want the vertex, and we could do it manually like we've done before. Or we could have the calculator try to do everything and try to minimize the distances to the curve. And so that process is called regression. Regression is when the calculator tries to find the line or curve of best fit. So we'll do that. To do this, we'll add a new page, page 3, which is just a plain old calculator page. And we will go to menu and statistics, because regression is a statistical tool, and we'll be doing a calculation. What do you see here that looks useful?
Linear regression.
We're going to use quadratic, but notice there is a linear regression, which would force a line onto this data, okay? Or maybe it would be appropriate for other data. So quadratic regression, and then again, it needs to know for what. So if you hit the right-hand arrow, for X list, you can choose angle. And the Y list, hit the right-hand arrow and choose your Y values. We basically press OK. And look, it gives us the standard form for an equation, ax squared plus bx plus c, and it gives us the values for those coefficients, a, b, and c.
Oh, I've got a lot more decimal points.
So before we graph this, I want to explain one thing here. The r squared. This is telling us how good the fit is. The maximum value for r squared is 1.
Oh.
So 1 is perfect. 1 actually goes through every point. 0.98 is very good. So I'm seeing 0.98. I'm expecting this curve to look great with the data. It means there's no, really quadratic's not appropriate at all for that. So let's go back to the graph, which was 1.2. And if you hit menu again and graph again, choose function this time. And if you scroll up to F1, you will see it sitting there. Here is the equation that you calculated earlier. If you press enter, it will be graphed. So here are some questions that we would like to answer. We only have a couple minutes left, but I think we can knock these off. So we know how to do a scatter plot now, right?
Yeah.
And you all have a video as well, both of me and another example video on OneNote if you forget. So we found the quadratic regression. We decided it was a good fit because of the r squared. We just call it r squared. So now we'd like to answer contextual questions. So suppose the angle was 5 degrees. 5 degrees was not in our data set, right? But I'd like to use my quadratic to predict what the distance the ball would have traveled if I had hit it at an angle of 5 degrees. So how would I do that? Going back to this. So I did menu, trace, graph trace, and the first thing it'll want to trace is the data. So to get off the data, just hit the down arrow key, and it'll go onto the curve. That is an example of extrapolation. And the reason it's extrapolation is because extra means outside of, like extracurricular is outside of school. So 5 was not even in our domain. The data was from 10 to 60. 5 is outside of that, so that's called what? Extrapolation. If I wanted to predict what happens at 32 degrees, that's called interpolation, because it's inside the data. Interpolation. Now, the question I have here is what angle would have taken me 270 feet? Unfortunately, Trace won't let you put in a Y. Trace will let you put in an X, haha, but not a Y. So instead of doing that, I will just do a line at 270. And then find the intersection. So there's the line. Oh, and look, there's 2 angles that would have corresponded to that distance, because it's a quadratic, so 2 solutions is common, right? So how would I find the intersection?
thing.
The thing, menu, analyze, and intersection. So I can find one of them here at 33.6, then repeat, menu, analyze, intersection, and do it again. And it's a little crowded there, but I can move stuff around. So it was 33.6 and 50 were the two values. All right, so that's it. You can. Well, I mean, there is the issue though is that it might not be an invertible function. Like here, there's two solutions. So there is. Right.
Okay.
Is it better?
Why did you move down?
I was just when I got a good grade.
Did Peter just leave Judy's calculator right there? Not even giving it back to me? That's yours. Okay. And Benjamin hopefully took mine with him because it's not his online. Okay. Where am I?
Oh, my complaint. No, I'm falling apart. I want to finish this like the other one.
Okay, see you on Thursday. Around that. I haven't seen the schedule. It's probably out, but usually. Yeah. No, today is, I don't know what 9th grade's doing. 10th grade has meeting with counselors. But it says it's not Yatra, it's something grade level. I think you have a meeting with Miss Wisman for GCD. Global Citizen Diploma. I don't know where the meeting is though.